So I'm on a roll. This is my third review within the first week of January. And this is a figure that I've been waiting for some time to add to my 6-inch lineup. Not simply Mezco, just a good version of Wonder Woman. So let's see if this figure has turned out to be good. So thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop. On today's review, we take a look at the Mezco 112 DC Wonder Woman. Today I'll be reviewing this figure in the following 6 categories: accessories, articulation, design, is it essential to your collection, functionality, and price. Once those scores are totaled, I'll give you my opinion if this figure is a pass or a purchase. So for accessories, I am pleasantly surprised. Wonder Woman comes with a lot. So starting to my left, she comes with a spare. It is done in a very soft plastic, so it bends pretty easily. It's a nice gold, though it does not have a strong metallic finish. And the red is very bright, vibrant, excuse me. I'm hoping that that's showing on camera. In addition to that, we get a axe. Very clean paint apps. The blues do not leak over to the grays nor the gold. And you actually have some wear on the axe, which I really like. Done in that same brown color, the red, the gold trim as the spare. And we receive a blade. It appears very small, pretty short for a blade. Done in the same colors with the exception of the blue. We receive 4 pair of hands in total. The flesh tones on the hands are done particularly well. I do like the line work, indicating how a hand may look when you place up a thumb. I just tried to mimic that, however, I have the camera zoomed in. We receive a shield, again done in the same blue, silver, as well as red colors. The only exception here is that it does not have the brown. And again, I like the scope work and the design on the shield itself. We receive 2 lassos. One that's rolled up and one that's loose. I'm not crazy about this one. It's a bit flimsy. You can see how it's a little bit bent. But it's good to have 2 versions of a lasso. It's just that this one could have been done better. We receive a cape, which I really like. It appears to be almost like a velvet, like a navy blue velvet color. It really looks good. The white stars look good as well. And then to top it off, you have a gold ribbon right in the center. I really like this piece. We receive 2 head sculpts. I really like the makeup on the lips, very dark. The eyes look clean. Some blush. Oops, sorry. Let's go start over again. Lipstick. Some red to mimic blush on the cheeks. It really looks good. Very clean work here. And not really an aggressive face sculpt. However, it has more aggression in it than the one that's on the figure, which I'll show right now. And looking at the head sculpt that's on the figure, let's see if I can move the lights a little bit. Very clean as well. Not that aggressive as I mentioned. Mouth is closed, same color lipstick. And again, I like it. Not a lot of differences, but it is. You can easily tell that they are 2 different head sculpts. And last but not least, we receive a Wonder Woman stand as well as base. So for accessories, I am very happy with what we received, and I'm going to give Wonder Woman a 10 out of 10. So for articulation, I can already tell by looking at the figure, there are going to be some challenges. So let's go ahead and go through it. So looking at the head, the hair comes all the way down to the back, and I'm pretty sure that this is not going to grant a lot of upward movement, and it doesn't. The figure can't look up any at all. She barely looks down. Barely. I'm surprised at this lack of pivot. And she cannot rotate her head 360. That is very disappointing. The arm is able to bend up this much, which is less than a Freddy Krueger. It's able to rotate a full 360. There's no upper bicep cut. You do not receive rotation at the gauntlet. You do at the wrist. The wrist also hinges up and down as well as side to side as long as you place it along the correct line. And the elbows are single jointed, bending in about that much. So moving on to the torso. Holy crap. So the torso is one piece. Well, actually, the torso is two pieces. You can actually see it here. However, the way that the front is designed, you're only going to get movement from one part. So when it comes to Wonder Woman, she barely moves back at all. I'm going to say she doesn't move back at all. She moves forward about that much. No rotation, no pivot. This is just awful. Do we even get waist rotation? Yes, but it is very limited because it is stopped by this Wonder Woman design, which is there. The legs are able to go out about that much. Forward that much. Backwards that much. You do get rotation. Upper thigh cut. Come on, no rotation at the boot. Are you kidding me? Single jointed knees. Well, let's go to the pivot. So the foot moves up that much, down that much. It goes to the outside about that much and inside about that much. So the articulation on this figure is super disappointing. This is, without a question, the worst articulated figure that I've reviewed. Well, I want to say this year, but this is only my third review. All of 2019. The head barely moves. The torso doesn't move. Limited movement in the arms. Limited movement in the legs. It's the upper part of the figure feels statue-based. Even today with statues, most of them anyway, the heads you are able to pose, and it sort of feels that way. So for articulation, I'm going to give Wonder Woman a 3 out of 7. So for design, Wonder Woman, as well as her accessories, looks phenomenal. Very pretty head sculpt. I mentioned earlier, all the paint apps are very clean. I really like the vibrant red in her armor. I wish that the gold was more metallic. However, it is painted clean and it does have a little bit of shimmer to it. So it's probably a semi-satin finish. The blue also looks good. I think it's a good flesh tone as well. Coming down, the boots are very vibrant and all the grays are exactly where they should be. Love the cape. The only one thing that I would say about the actual figure is that for me, Wonder Woman should be a bit taller as well as bulkier. So for design, I'm going to give Wonder Woman an 8 out of 10. So is Wonder Woman essential to your collection? Without a question, she is a core member of the Justice League. I mentioned earlier in the video is a figure that I really wanted to add to my 6-inch lineup. So not to take a lot of time on this part, as far as being essential to your collection, I'm going to give Wonder Woman a 10 out of 10. So for functionality, let's start with the head. It is easy enough to remove. Simply pull up. I'm going to also remove the cape and I'm going to place on the second head scope. Let's also start with changing out the hands. Let's go with actually one of the weapons and let me find one of the hands that she could actually hold the weapon in. Okay, so assuming that this is the correct hand, let me move the lighting. I'm just going to try to push this part in. And it holds pretty well. Going to remove this hand. The pegs are very small. Being that they're this skinny, a lot of times it's not the easiest for them to go on. So I'm going to try to hold the peg with my fingers as I push this one in. And that's the best way to do it if you're able to. And she holds the sword very well, very securely. So I'm just going to try the additional weapons. Again, very securely. Just going to push that in. And she holds the staff as well. So now with the shield, I already have it on. It is very simple to attach. The way I did so, come on hand, is simply remove the hand, place the forearm through, and then just place the hand on the peg like so. So now for the lasso, I'm actually going to try a different hand than the one that holds the weapon. I'm going to actually use the hand that has, I'm going to use the opposite side actually. So I'm assuming that this will be easy enough. I'm going to pry the fingers back some. All right, let's try that again. It fell. Fingers are very soft. Okay, there we go. Again, I'm going to pinch the pegs and just push up with the hand. I don't like how this feels. The pegs are very, I won't say brittle, but it just feels like it's going to break. I don't like that. Small arms, small pegs, but she holds it very well. Moving on to the cape, it has a bendy wire in this area as well as this area, so you are able to pose it. And this I just really like. Moving on, let's talk about functionality. So the hair itself certainly will restrict some movement. However, they could have done it to where you were able to lift the head a little bit. However, they didn't, so that part of it sucks. This was a complete letdown. So for the design, it looks fantastic because it's one piece. But as far as for articulation and functionality, it sucks. They could have easily made this two pieces. The upper part could have simply just laid over the lower part and it would have allowed for some movement. I am just not a fan of how they did this. I am not a fan of the single elbows, even though it appears that most female figures, are like this throughout the lines. So moving on to the last few things for functionality, she has two, not even sure what to call these, but they are functional. One, you can just pull out the tab, place the lasso around it like so, and tab it back in. I'd say this normally, I have pretty big hands, so I don't know how easy it will be for me to do so. Oh, a lot easier than I thought. I'm not 100% sure of what this one is for. I'm assuming that it's for the sword. It is a tight fit. Okay, I was pretty nervous as it really is a tight fit, but the sword does fit securely in. I'm not a big fan of how it looked. However, it is something that's functional that holds her weapon, so it is something that I like. So for overall functionality, the weapons work very well with the figure. She's able to hold them very securely in her hand. Also, you are able to place some of the weapons on her body, which is a big plus. So for overall functionality, I'm going to give Wonder Woman an 8 out of 10. So before jumping into the price, there are a few things that I want to point out that I did not talk about in the design part of the video. So the first would be her gauntlets. Just zoom in on those for a moment, and they are done exceptionally well. A little different from what I remember Wonder Woman gauntlets looking like. However, the paint is very clean, especially on the smaller ones located down below. And if you turn it, it is open on the inside. Also, I didn't talk a lot about this underwear. There is part that's fabric and part that is not. think you could actually see the stitch work right here. Yep, pretty sure that you can see it. And for design, I did not talk about this, which I hate. When the upper body is exposed, the peg, Mezco did as good a job as they could using this body. Personally, I prefer Fison. I know it's some collectors who do not, but I would prefer a silicone body, which would really hide the joints. And especially being that this figure is so limited with articulation, I certainly would have went that route. If this item was cloth or removable, I would probably buy a Fison figure and see if I can replace her. However, I do not have an option for that. And just continuing on for a moment, I'm very concerned that the way this body is done here is the same way that the Gambit will be done, which should be releasing. Well, Mezco doesn't release on time, so who knows when that figure is coming in. So now for pricing, this was a Mezco exclusive. I should have did my homework before doing the video, but I believe she priced in at about $90. That was before shipping. That was before tax. Mezco shipping, in my opinion, is way too expensive. So for the figure, I paid roughly 115 bucks for her. A few things to look at. So overall, was she worth the price of admission? So I want to start with some of the positives. The figure looks outstanding, in my opinion, with the exception of the shoulders. This really captures Wonder Woman. I really like the scope work here, the vibrant colors, the gold, the red. I like the accessories that she comes with, the two head sculpts. Moving on to some of the stuff in the middle, and I guess that will go per collector. I really wish that she was a bit bulkier, had some larger or rather muscle tone. There's really no muscle tone in her physique. And Wonder Woman is someone who I always envision that has a muscular physique. Aside from that, the articulation is just awful. For a figure to be priced at this price point and to have this many limitations, it truly does this figure a disservice. This could have easily been in my top 10, but essentially because of this base body, which Mezco has to replace, this body has to end. 2019 should be the last of using this base body. So for pricing, I struggled with this a little bit because there are some great things with the figure. The really negative part about this figure is, again, the body. So for pricing, I'm going to give Wonder Woman a 7 out of 10. So now, is she a pass or a purchase? I was going back and forth with this one. I don't have any other Wonder Woman figures in my collection, so this one may still be the definitive version, and that's what brought me to this conclusion. So just by a very narrow margin, I'm going to say she is worth purchasing. I nearly forgot to tally the score, so adding in all of her scores, I believe I gave her pricing a 7 out of 10, which would give Wonder Woman a cliff score of 43 out of 60. So here's Wonder Woman by herself. Here's Wonder Woman next to Marvel Legends Elektra. They are nearly the same height. It seems like Wonder Woman hair sits a little bit higher. Wonder Woman build appears to be a little bit thicker as well. And here's Wonder Woman next to Marvel Legends She-Hulk. So thank you for staying around to the end. Once again, I'm a little bit tired of repeating this theme, but I am doing my videos without any alterations or edits, so I'm pretty sure there are some mistakes throughout. So thank you for tuning in to Mr. Cliff's Toy Shop, and I hope to see you during the next review.